are listening to Voice of the Fans Sportscast, brought to you by none other than the voices of the fans.
Oh, Canada.
For Friday, the 17th of April, I'm Randy Coure. This is Voice of the Fans Canada. Hope you're doing well, and thank you so much for joining us. We're live on YouTube at VOF Canada. Be sure to like and to subscribe to all of our social media channels, which includes Instagram, TikTok, X, and Threads. On tonight's episode, the NHL and NBA playoffs are set. The Raptors are in. The Maple Leafs are not. We're also going to be talking about the grand poobah of the Raptors and Maple Leafs parent company, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. Keith Pelley has faced a little bit of scrutiny in his first few months as CEO. We're also going to be talking about Canada's newest franchise in a moment, but first, the Roundtable has assembled. Tony Antoniou is back. Tony, how are you?
Tired. It's late. No,
it is late.
Okay, I'll get through it. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Yeah, we usually don't have a 9 o'clock start time. I'm grateful that you guys are able to join us. And back once again after a few months. He's been a busy boy lately, and always thankful that he has donated some time to the podcast. Neel Katarey is back once again. Neel, how's it going?
Good. Ready to discuss James Harden's playoff resume once again.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a difference, potential difference maker, because the Raptors did so well against the Cavaliers in the regular season. And
that's about a 15-minute show, isn't it?
Yeah,
James
yeah,
Harden
it could
playoff
be.
resume.
James Harden's playoff resume. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you want to say about James Harden, I mean, a playoff savant is not really his bag, but you never know. Maybe it could happen this year.
Hey, Tony, who would be his NHL comparison, James Harden? The guy who always kills it in the regular season, but,
I got
one. Right now, I guess it's easy to lay that at the feet of a Mitch Marner or an Auston Matthews, or
Exactly.
Yeah, Auston Matthews may be the right answer. Actually,
yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Unfortunately,
that's a great one.
That's probably the direction they'll take.
Yes. Oh, that's
well.
Good. Yeah.
Hey, Tony, wouldn't you say that if you take away that one season, and you know what season I'm talking about, don't you think it could be Alexander Ovechkin? I mean, how many times did Ovechkin make a conference final?
Mm-hmm. Very fair. Well, they've never made it past the second round at all in his career.
Yeah.
With the exception of the Stanley Cup run. But
I thought of Ovechkin when I asked Tony that question, but I said you can't say his name because he's got a cup.
He's got a cup, so it's hard. Yeah. But other than that, there was no appearances past the second round.
Yeah, that's incredible for a guy who is has that kind of legendary status. I mean, I don't know about you, but in terms of Wayne Gretzky at his prime versus Alexander Ovechkin, I mean, Gretzky had Messier, he had Curry, and whatever you want to say about Grant Fuhr and Kevin Lowe as defense. I mean, who was Alexander Ovechkin second and third? I mean, because of that, I'd probably say Ovechkin.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. And just a model of consistency, 20 goals or more for his entire career. You're talking about a 21-year career. So I think that's fair. He had some good players. Don't get me wrong, but
well, sure, yeah. But how many of Ovechkin's teammates are
obviously different types of players completely? Gretzky impacted the game a heck of a lot more in other areas of the ice.
Yeah,
his
exactly.
vision, setting up his teammates, completely different players. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think this was a real stat this season. He participated in 0 defensive zone faceoffs all season long. Alex Ovechkin. 0.
I was gonna say exactly what Tony said. Gretzky is so much more of a well-rounded player, an even better scorer in my opinion because of the creativity. But Ovi, I think to me, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong because you would know this more, but he's sort of like the peak version of a guy like Al McInnes or something. Amazing shot, good scorer, all-time scorer, I should say, but kind of not as varied in what he brings.
Certainly not flashy, but he's just a mule on the ice, right? Like he gets into his positions because of just the way he's built, and it's just hard to take a guy like that down. But it's amazing how he's never changed his spot, really, especially when you look at the power play where he sets up, and yet he scored a lot of goals from there. We're talking about him like his career's over. I don't think it is. I think he's coming back, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I mean, this wasn't on today's lineup here, but I mean, could
Go
Ovechkin
off the rails again?
Yeah, that's how podcasts should be done, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm wondering because I think he'll be back. I also think that he is going to play one season at least in the KHL. Who's to say that, what is he, 41 now?
He's
41
he
now.
He can play in the KHL when he's 50 if he wants, just like Yager did with Czech.
Yeah.
Same situation. These guys, hockey, it's a longevity. You can get a lot more longevity out of your body in hockey because of the way the game is played on ice and everything like that. And your savvy and your intelligence can get through a lot of athletic, let's say, drawbacks that you develop because of age.
Yeah. But no, I think he'll be back for one more year. I mean, they gave him
a nice send off there. That would have been that's a nice way to send him off the way that they did at his last home game there. That was really nice to see.
Oh, with the standing O.
Well, in Pittsburgh too, they gave him a hell of a send off.
As well. Yeah, that's definitely respect there.
But he refused the handshake after the game, which made people think, okay, maybe he is coming back. But at that point, there was still a chance that they would actually be facing each other in the playoffs too. So I think that was another factor to okay, let's not have too much of this bromance shit because we might be killing each other in a few days. So maybe that was a factor. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think the three of us are in agreement that Ovi's going to come back. But one franchise that's not so much coming back, they're just going to be coming to the party, and that's the Toronto Tempo. This is the WNBA's first experience in Canada, and I really have to say that I was really impressed with the lead up to the Tempo. There's one thing that I will get to in a moment, but personally, the lead up was so strong. Starting from this time last year, I actually thought that the Tempo was going to be starting their franchise last season, but it wasn't the case. They are going to be starting this year. They already had their expansion draft and some key signings. But Neel, we'll start it off with you. What are your thoughts to the lead up to the Toronto Tempo?
I've enjoyed it as well. I'm mostly reading about it, I'll be honest, but I thought it's been big time. It's been fitting for a city like Toronto and the sports history that not all of it great, but certainly basketball wise, it's been great. I would say we have a championship and we built ourselves incrementally towards a championship in the NBA through a long, arduous process where we hit the checkpoints that teams are supposed to hit, highs and lows, but ultimately the highest of highs. And, we had a generational superstar, at least from an entertainment and marketing perspective, in Vince, to carry that early on, develop so many, the inspiration for so many of the guys that are now excellent Canadian ball players in the NBA. And, that's exactly what I want to see happen in the women's game in Canada, because Canada produces a lot of good women, female basketball players, but it can get even better. And it's ripe, I think, perfect timing. And they've done it quite well, bringing in big names, Serena Williams, Masai. Glad to see Masai kind of back in the fold in terms of the city's culture. He's done everything for the Raptors. That one championship, more would have been great. Like maybe if we went back to back, even if Kawhi stayed, all of that type of stuff. But that one is so important. So, that's far and away the majority of what he set out to do. Now he can turn his, attention to even more of a, role, but perhaps control-wise behind the scenes, decision-wise, without as much oversight, more sort of, and I'm sure that he at the helm or even advising whoever is going to be a great, great, great thing for this team because he's savvy, the business, the personalities, all of that. It's all going to come into play. And, big names like Serena Williams, like the greatest female tennis player of all time, just even in name, being associated with the franchise right off the bat. It tells you that this is a kind of a serious thing. And, people are going to get behind this, I think. And, I think they're going to have a great following here as long as, they don't end up shitting the bed for a long period of time, which I do not think they will. I really loved their draft pick. I don't know much, but the reading I've done and the interviews I've seen Kiki Rice give tell me she's very mature. She's got that good attitude you want to see, feisty, great player, obviously won a championship. And, so I think great things are off to a great start. And it's certainly seems to be faster of a start than what the Raptors had way back when Oliver Miller was down there, backing guys down.
Yeah. Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but Tony, I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well.
Would you really?
Well, honestly, Tony, no. With two daughters like yourself, I don't know how versed they are in sports, but
the funny thing is, the first things first, having two daughters makes me very cautious of having them look up to some of the most insufferable people in sports.
There we go.
like the NBA, like the WNBA has. But I agree with Neel. The hoopla surrounding this, the buildup has been exceptional. They did the court reveal a couple days ago at the Coca-Cola Coliseum. The great mayor, Olivia Chow, announced today the practice facility that's going to be built. They pumped $150 million into this thing. That's pretty impressive when you think about a league that loses about that much. Well, not that much, but anywhere between $25 and $50 million a year. It is staggering how this league is propped up the way it is. They're basically a charity league for the NBA. It's not very entertaining. It's not something I can ever get into. But like I said, I think the messaging from the WNBA is what annoys me more than anything. And it kind of takes away from the game aspect of it. They have the gold mine in Caitlin Clark over the last couple of years, and they've just worked so hard to kind of sabotage that from just everything I've seen as well.
Sabotage how? In what aspect?
And I don't think it was very accepting by certain factions of the WNBA that this phenom was coming in and actually bringing some kind of momentum to the WNBA. So they worked hard on the court to try and, send a message to her saying, this is still our league type of thing. Just my observation. But again, I hope it does work out, because if you're attracting, a certain fan base who are going to be drawn to that and it works out, great. I don't begrudge it. If you can figure out how to make money in this, then congratulations. I don't know how it's going to happen. especially now with the new CBA where these players are getting more money. I mean, you had, who is it? Asia Wilson. She's the reigning MVP. She just signed a 3-year deal at $5 million. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but for a league that makes no money at all, I don't know how it's going to work out. And they're expanding more, so then you have to worry about dilution. So that's where I'm looking at it from. We'll see how it goes. I have, as long as it's getting propped up and it's being forced, pushed in people's faces, I guess it'll have a certain type of notoriety, but I just don't get it. It feels very manufactured to me.
Well,
what I'll say to that,
yeah,
Tony,
please, Neel.
is that we don't disagree often, but I do disagree with you on this particular subject, because you have to look at it, in my opinion, this way: is that in the early days of the NBA, okay, when Bill Russell was coming in there changing everything, he was outcasted too, and for obviously different reasons, different time, different mentality in society. But guys did not play a certain way back then. They didn't have the history of competition, let's just say. So I do think that there's a lot of growing pains, and Caitlin Clark coming in as like a sensation, basically, a biggest sensation that has ever come in right off the bat to the WNBA by far. And that's going to bring a lot of whatever it brings, negative and positive. The positive, often in these circumstances, when big business, big money is involved, big personalities, does not come without the negative. And it's all publicized in this scenario. But I do think that over time, you're going to see a lot more players like her that bring a certain level of flair, skill, are less sort of monotonous with their game, are less clunky with their game. I will say, there is some of that, but there's a lot of skill, and it's growing rapidly because there's such an infancy in terms of the league and the sort of high level competition. And so I think that there is a bright future potential. You're not going to get any dunks, but I think that the excitement of the play can be consistently on the upswing for many years to come. And then you will see profitability eventually come about. It's just like any business that has early, you got to build faith, build a base, build yourself up as a quality product, and then you start to become profitable.
But I think, and Neel, I don't know if you know this for sure, because from what I heard, that for the first 20 plus years of the league's existence, the league has lost money. I'm guessing, I don't know this for sure, that they made money last year just because the league has just garnered that much attention. And, with Golden State coming, Toronto coming, the upcoming season, Philadelphia and Detroit, to play devil's advocate, I guess, you and I, Neel, of course, are into golf, and Live Golf has pulled the plug. Do you think that the success of the WNBA is in fact sustainable?
I think, we can't sit here and compare the WNBA to the NBA. It's when you're talking about business and profitability, you don't compare the behemoth with, the WNBA. You got to compare it to other leagues, look at other products, look at the National Lacrosse League, for example. I mean, that's not as big as the WNBA, but they belong more so in the same tier than the WNBA belongs with the NBA in comparison wise, So you got to see it for what it is. It's a product, it's a competition. And as long as it becomes more and more exciting, I could not care less about who makes money on the back end of things, because they got enough. What I care about is, are we going to get a good product worth watching, worth following, worth being a fan of, and worth, bringing our kids to see, to get inspired by, at least the competition and the potential that it could bring out in them, So, there's a lot of pluses to take from it. I'm happy Toronto has a team, and I hope that they become very successful. There's nothing saying that Toronto can't eventually become one of the pinnacle franchises in this league.
Yeah. Yeah, and no, I'm thrilled that Toronto finally has a franchise. I thought it was just a matter of time before they in fact got one. And I have to say, of course, we knew what the logo was going to look like, and the color scheme of the franchise. Do you think they missed something by not making the color scheme red and white? Should they have had a Canadian accent to it? Because it's basically like a wine color is their main color scheme. And I only really thought about this once they unveiled the court a couple of days ago. And I was thinking to myself, that would look a lot more sharper if it was, maple leaf red. What do you guys think?
I think they're trying to distance themselves from the NBA. The Raptors do have red, like Canada red, on all over them, and I think also I predict that Vancouver probably will get a franchise in the not too distant future, and one of the next, maybe perhaps the next expansion. I think there's still some Grizzlies, karma or reparations maybe to be made to the city of Vancouver basketball wise, and this would be at least a step. Pretty good step in that happening, because they're not going to get an NBA team again. So, so I don't think, like, if you have the one Canadian team, they're not going to be representing all of Canada if that happens by themselves. So I don't mind the color scheme. I don't really care for these details. The name, I'm not too crazy about the name, but then again,
Yeah.
Back in the day, I wasn't really too crazy about the Raptors. I've learned to love it just because I love the team. But I feel like I would have been very happy if they started off in 1995 going back to the Toronto Huskies, to be quite honest. I would have loved that just as much. But Raptors is a little cartoonish, but now there are Raptors. We've grown up with them, and so we love them just like we did an old cartoon on Saturday morning, let's just say. They've grown with us, and we still love it. So
Yeah.
the name will grow on us even if we don't necessarily vibe with it right now. And those are all just details. Bring a good quality product to the court, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of like a uniformed color for one city. I've always, maybe it's because growing up being a Penguins fan and seeing the Steelers and Pirates all sharing the same color, I always thought that was cool. Obviously, that's not even close to being the case in Toronto. I guess you have red, you have blue, but that's just me. I think cities should be, down the line in terms of uniformity. And don't some of the WNBA teams kind of share the same names as the NBA teams? If I'm not mistaken.
They're variations of the name.
Like Minnesota.
Minnesota Lynx is like
And the
Lynx,
Timberwolves. Oh, there's a few of them.
There's a few.
Why am I drawing a blank now?
Phoenix,
But
Phoenix
Mercury.
Mercury.
The Mystics and the Wizards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few of them.
It would be cool if this was like the Toronto Barneys or something like that.
Did Barney have a female companion? I don't know.
I'm not sure. But
I see your point there, Neel. Yeah, sorry, Tony, you were going to say something?
No, I was going to make a stupid joke, but I should probably refrain myself. So keep going.
Yeah. I guess Neel touched on it, and we might as well get into it now. And because I'm kind of wondering if Vancouver should have been the first franchise. And I don't know if this is a bit of a reach, but for those who are interested in the Toronto tempo and who are trying to get those first set of tickets for the inaugural season, the assumption is that they have been to a Raptors game. So my theory is that old eyes are watching basketball, where there are so many basketball fans in a city like Vancouver, let alone Montreal and other cities, that haven't been to an NBA game, who are dying to, like, say you're in the Pacific Northwest, to have the Vancouver Grizzlies back. And call me crazy, but I think that Vancouver should have been the first franchise.
I'll say that this I think is where we talk about the business component of things, because I don't think that you bring a team to Canada and don't trot it out in Toronto first, especially as Tony was mentioning, if the fragility and the survival of said team depends on having a fast start, perhaps. You're going to get that much more in Toronto, in my opinion, than you are Vancouver. So Toronto can be a great test case because if we kill it over here business-wise, they're going to be breathing easy a lot more, bringing a team to a part of Canada, city in Canada that, while comparable in terms of its, greatness, perhaps, in many ways, Toronto is still the financial and sports kind of hub of Canada, and you got to make it here first as a good test case for them. So I think it was a business decision, and they would. You can have that opinion for sure, but it was always going to be Toronto.
Don't you? Sorry, Tony, please.
Can Vancouver produce a team that consists of, a Larry Tannenbaum, a Serena Williams, a Masai Ujiri, and whoever else is a part of this ownership group that can pony up, $115 million, like in the snap of a finger, that includes a state-of-the-art facility that's going to really, really pamper these ladies and probably be different from what a lot of WNBA franchises go through. I mean, they just recently started chartering airplanes as well. Thank you very much, Kate and Clark. It's, but listen, whoever's willing to pony up $50 million into this league, they'll probably get a franchise. I'm sure we'll have like 40 franchises in the WNBA before you know it.
Well, probably.
We'll have a team in Whitby if you can come up with $50 million. Don't worry.
Well, I'm guessing that the NBA would foam at the mouth. I mean, they already have. They're going to have 32. Vegas and Seattle has been confirmed, but who the ownership is, I don't think that has been announced yet.
Think about this, because the WNBA, a lot of these women in the WNBA, they go and play in other countries during the off season, which is basically when the NBA season happens. Like, what was her name? Now I'm blanking on her name, but Brittany Griner, who got arrested in Russia, but she was playing there. Kia Nurse, who we're going to talk about or touch on, she played in Australia. She won a couple of Australian League MVPs. So the reason I say that is because, as a soccer fan, Tony, you might like this idea. And you just mentioned that Temple might have 40 teams one day. But if they, there's a lot of, potential for if they expand. I don't think this is a league that can carry 30 teams, but they could potentially have a EPL-like system where there's the bottom teams go to the lower league and those teams come up. That would be a fantastic element to just differentiating it from the NBA, other leagues. I think would increase competition. It would be tricky with contracts. There's something there that money sharing, all that type of thing. But if there was some penalty or you don't get as much or whatever being in the lower league, something like that, then it would just drive competition, I think, fiercely. It could be a cool idea, couldn't it?
I would love to see that kind of thing come into play, but I doubt it'll ever happen in North American sports, only because of the amount of money they spend on expansion franchises here. Funny enough, Coventry City made it back to the Premier League for the first time in 25 years today. So it took them that long, which it also makes for a cool story. Oh yeah. But I can't see it happening. But I'm with you. I would love to see that. There's some teams in NHL that could drop down to the AHL, no problem. Like the Leafs. No, I'm joking.
That hurts, Tony. That really hurts.
Hey, I'm hurting too in the pocketbook, so I'm.
Oh, I guess you are, huh? Well, hopefully the Raptors will have a nice run for this playoff season. There was another question. There was another point that I wanted to bring up, and I'm blanking on it right now. Oop, is that Cypress saying hello there, Tony? The dog?
You got it, the one and only.
I'll tell her I said hello. But the Tempo did make a splash. They did sign Canadian Olympian. She has made her mark in the NCAA with the Yukon Huskies. She's 7-year veteran Kia Nurse. And got to say that Kia Nurse, she did spend a lot of time with TSN here in Canada doing some broadcast work. I thought she was great with that. But she did have an ACL injury in the 22 season. I'm guessing that's long behind her. How important was Kia Nurse signing for the Tempo for this first season?
I think it was a good, important move for far more than just what she'll bring to the court, because she's certainly not in her prime anymore, and for what that's worth. But she has had a storied career. She's, like I said, she's got a couple of MVPs in an Australian league. She's a NCAA champion a couple times, I think. Played on a super team basically in the NCAA. She is a stalwart in Canadian basketball as well, and on TSN. So everyone has seen her. They may not know who she is, but everyone has seen her. She's a friendly face and a face that you recognize as someone associated with women's basketball in Canada, essentially. And so, I think that even if whether she's contributing on the court as a role player, or whether she's more of like a Garrett Temple role, like for the Raptors, where she, brings up all these young ladies coming to Toronto for maybe the first time. Like, I think Kiki Rice never came to Toronto before, showing them the ropes. She knows the ins and outs of Toronto, I'm sure. And that'll be a good icebreaker, a transition piece that will be, I think, a big part of her role and a big reason why they made this signing. And I think, she probably had a personal, investment in coming here. She already works for TSN. She's from Hamilton, I believe. Yep. And again, so she had the personal incentive to come and represent the first Canadian team, and maybe do something big. I mean, who knows? If Toronto maybe will have like a Vegas Golden Knights type start to their existence, and she could be a part of that, and that could be a great thing. Despite what you want to say about it, not being the same league as the NBA, for sure it's not, but still, that could bring a lot of excitement, particularly for us in the summer here. But she comes from a sports family too. I learned this as well. Obviously we know that she's Darnell Nurse's sister, but did you know that Donovan McNabb is her uncle?
Yeah.
Obviously Sarah Nurse is her, I think, sister, right? Or
Sarah Nurse is the cousin.
Okay.
Sarah Nurse, cousin.
Yeah, big sports family, and that's kind of cool too. I just learned the McNabb thing recently. So
I don't know, Tony. Do you know what the link is? I know it's an uncle, but is it like the sister's brother or something?
I don't know for sure.
Yeah, it's one of her parents' siblings' husbands is McNabb.
Yeah,
parents.
Okay.
Yeah. Do they not have also the most expensive, the highest paid backcourt in WNBA already too? They signed the two guards that they've signed. Is it not? I think I heard that the Tempo. I mean,
I don't know myself. I really haven't heard of
as we stretch this WNBA talk as far as
well, Tony, it was actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you, and to put you on the spot here. Listening to TSN radio, I know that you I don't know how much you listen to it these days, but when you did have the ability to listen to Overdrive, especially, they don't really talk about Toronto FC. You and I obviously have a special affection for the Reds, but they only really talk about them maybe at the beginning of the season and if they make a deep run into the playoffs.
Right.
But they don't really talk about it during, the grind of the MLS campaign. You think the Tempo is going to get more radio space with TSN Radio, Fan 590, more than TFC? Because I think they will.
Probably, yeah. I think they
Why do you think that is?
Oh, man. I think there's, like I said, I feel like the WNBA gets pushed on you. They make it like top story on ESPN's, sports highlight packages. And so you're kind of like, it's there. They throw it in your face. So I think it will get more play than Toronto FC for sure. For sure.
Well, what about the CFL?
What about it?
Like, I mean, TSN now, I know that they have the broadcast rights to CFL. And if you want to talk about a league that gets pushed upon you, I think that's definitely the CFL, especially in this area, in the Greater Toronto area. I don't know anybody who is interested in the Canadian Football League. And
Well,
TSN
it,
especially, they lead their highlight show, SportsCenter, with
well,
CFL highlights.
it's Canada's national league, and it's been around for well over 100 years. So and
But nobody's
TSN
interested in it.
and
Nobody's
TSN.
interested
Well,
in it.
you
I will
go
say,
you go out west. I think they'll beg to differ with you.
Sure, fair enough.
In
Fair
this
enough.
market, obviously Toronto, it doesn't carry a lot of weight. Montreal, they love their Alouettes there. Ottawa, maybe not so much, but once you get Manitoba and over, they absolutely love their CFL football. So there's you have to take the rest of the country into consideration
Sure.
when you're leading a highlight with SportsCenter. You gotta it's in the middle of the summer. There's not a lot going on. So if you kick the broadcast off with the Saskatchewan Winnipeg Blue Bomber game on Friday Night Football, I don't think that's forcing it on you. I just think that's probably the highlight of that particular night, because sports is not a lot going on in the summertime, especially when you get past June. Right. So I think that's a different story, and it's something that's been established and around for hundreds of years. But I don't. Yeah, that's. I don't understand the comparison. It's
Well, I mean, I guess what and I totally get what you're saying about Western Canada and their love for the CFL, absolutely. But I think ratings are such where the ratings in Southern Ontario is still so much higher than it is in Western Canada. And TSN SportsCenter especially lead their show with CFL highlights. And when the majority of your viewership is not interested in CFL like it is in Southern Ontario, I don't see why you're leading with it. And my sense is that TSN especially is forcing you to watch these highlights. And they're not so much doing it for MLS.
TSN is the rights holder to the CFL,
right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's. I think that's the answer, right? TSN is the rights holder, so they're going to start their national sports telecast show with the sport that they have the rights to. Not to mention they do a great job producing CFL football as well. That's kind of off topic, but I love.
Yeah.
Sometimes I watch CFL simply for how TSN covers it. I wish they could still cover hockey, to be honest. I still wish they were the national carriers for the NHL. I think they do such a great job, but I'm not sure. Yeah, there's no comparison really, and it's our national sport, right? Like it's the National League. It's been around for hundreds of years. You kind of have an obligation there. I don't know if it's forcing it on. It's just one of the big sports going on at that time, right? I'm sure if there was I'm sure they would lead off with like a Blue Jay Dodger game before a CFL game on certain nights in the summer. I would imagine. I don't think it's all, but
yeah. Neel, what about you regarding this? I mean, do you think that the tempo is going to get more coverage than the CFL or MLS?
The CFL, I think.
I mean, you're a football guy.
Yeah, I'm a football guy, and when CFL highlights come on, I actually think that they're pretty exciting. It's not for lack of excitement. The quality of play is certainly far less, but they certainly have. They like to sling the rock in the CFL.
Sure.
And so I do catch highlights once in a while, and but yeah. I don't think that there's a comparison there. The tempo, once again, this is an American league that's got a lot of backing. They're a lot bigger than the CFL already. That I don't think there's a question there. And they will. Just like I think the better question is Toronto Tempo and Toronto FC. I still think eventually the tempo will get probably more, is my guess. But so it's good to have another team that will get some attention.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
still,
And
it's Blue Jays up here in the summer, and then all those other ones are clumped down here.
right. I do have to say that watching a CFL game, because I've been to a number of NFL games, and the times I've been to a CFL game, you guys are right. It is exciting football. Football in general is, I'm interested in it, but I don't have the passion for it for the other sports. And watching a CFL game, it is quality stuff. It is exciting, a lot more exciting to watch, especially in person. For me, is the CFL. But to tie a bow on the WNBA, and we're going to get into MLSE in a second, and Keith Pelley, I'm calling it right now. I think the top-selling basketball jersey, including the NBA, is going to be a Kia Nurse Toronto Tempo jersey. I don't think I'm far off at all. Including the NBA. I mean, who could possibly
It must be late.
overtake? Huh? It must be what?
Late at night. It must be late.
What are you talking?
Okay,
but
you think that Kia Nurse jerseys are going to outsell Scotty Barnes jerseys? I would think we beg to differ on that one.
Oh, absolutely. Because Scotty Barnes, unless if the Raptors overhaul their jersey, and even if that is the case, Scotty Barnes is still going to be on the same team. And how many Anthony Edwards jerseys are you going to buy? And obviously, the weight and the focus is going to be here in Canada. I don't think a lot of Temple jerseys going to be floating around in the U.S. But
I'll tell you, Randy, I don't think I've ever seen anyone wear a WNBA jersey on the street before. And I'm not
because
saying
they
that
didn't need to.
That. I just don't think I've noticed it.
Keep an eye on Randy. I'm sure you will.
Oh, well, and that's another thing too. And that,
sure.
Absolutely,
sure.
I will.
Yeah,
Absolutely, I will.
As you should. As you should.
I do think that the
I'm for sure going to buy some Tempo gear. There's no question.
That for sure. I think the
maybe not a jersey, but something.
Yeah, the wine color jersey. I think it's really sleek. And in Canada, with regards to WNBA, there wasn't. We don't have a team to hitch our wagon on. And now that a team has come in Toronto, I don't know if it's fair, Tony, to compare what kids were wearing before the Raptors came around, because it was 30 years ago, and wearing jerseys wasn't as common as it is now. But with the Tempo coming in, I think that there's going to be a lot of Tempo people wearing a lot of Tempo gear, especially when the season starts and then the years coming up. And now you have an anchor like Kia Nurse. I certainly Neel, off the top of your head, who do you think would be the top selling NBA jersey for next season?
The whole in you're talking about all of North America, or in Canada specifically?
I was thinking more so in the US.
Oh yeah, Wemby probably. I'd say Wemby. He's on that part of his career where people are just, he's just starting out, becoming a high level superstar, and that's going to lead to something big for him. He could be MVP next year, and I would actually probably put him as a front runner, health permitting.
Yeah, Wemby is a good one.
But I also want to just add a final point on this Tempo thing, is that, look, the WNBA is not going to get the attention it wants by being like a 12-team league. Nobody outside of those cities really cares until it gets to, maybe the playoffs and the attention goes up. But put a team in Toronto, well, all of a sudden, if the team is good, a lot of people here will at least pay attention, probably watch, and that'll help their league a lot. And so I think that
from the three coasts, throughout all of Canada,
the way that a league like that will get better is by expanding, and get richer is by expanding. So, I think it was a good decision putting one in Toronto for sure.
Yeah,
but yeah, Wemby for that other question about the MVP next year.
Yeah, well, Wemby might sell a lot more jerseys.
But I think that here's the thing:
is gonna
when Jokic was winning all these MVPs, and he got to the point where it's like every year you could call him the MVP and no one would blink an eye. Now they gave it to Shea last year; they're probably going to give it to Shea this year. but a lot of people think Jokic should be the MVP again. So it's going like the reverse. It's going from voter fatigue to voter renewal. Like they think that he's been maybe robbed a little bit the last couple of years where he hasn't got it. And now he might be the front runner actually to get it again next year. But I think Shea's not going to three-peat. I don't think Shea's going to three-peat. I think he's about to hit a big case of voter fatigue, even if he plays as dominant as he did this season. He's not going to get it next year.
Sure. Well, I mean, I personally do applaud the NBA for the 65-game rule. I think it's ridiculous that you're going to – well, I mean, how many games would that be? That would be 17 games that they're not taking part in. And all of these players are not taking part.
You know, I heard a great idea actually. Like how in the NFL, if you're not a division team, I'm sorry, not the NFL. Like in the NFL, in a division, you play every other team twice. Once at home, once on the road. I just think that format is excellent for sort of building variance, building rivalries, making the quality of the league better. So, you know, because the NBA is about to expand to 32 teams, Vegas and Seattle most likely. And so imagine a league where they're only playing 62 games, not 82. The quality of the regular season goes up heavily. You pay, and you don't play more in the Eastern Conference. You play every other team twice, once at home, once on the road. And I think that you get a much better product out of the NBA if you did that. This is a quick side point there.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, I don't know if you want to jump in. I personally don't think that's a good idea at all. I think that it's, and I know that Neel and I, especially, we've talked about this before, but I mean, I think that there is this instant gratification that has bled into pro sports, and back-to-backs, you know, that's something that could be worked on. Tony, you said that nothing really happens after June. I mean, you know, stretch out the season where it's in July, NBA season, eliminate back-to-backs, but to shred the 82-game season to 65 or whatever, I don't think it's a good move at all. Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I don't think you'll ever get owners to agree on that, but I mean, I'm sorry again. It just goes to show you that the fact that you have to put that kind of rule in tells you the commitment level of these players. And it's one of the reasons why I'm not a regular fan of the NBA anymore, like I used to be. I think it's very damning on the players that the league actually has to put this kind of rule in. So, you know, that's I can't get past that, right? This is where we've become. And then you have someone like Steve Kerr, you know, saying that these players need to play less. It's unbelievable. When you think about the elite soccer players on the planet and how much they play in a calendar year between their league games, their cup games, their international commitments that they have to make.
How many games are we talking, Tony? How many games? Like, I don't know. Like, how many games are we talking about here for?
Let's say in some cases, you got a 35-game league generally, I think, in these leagues. And then you're playing, you know, it could get up to about 50 games.
50 games, okay.
50 games, yeah. But okay. You're running for 90, you know.
Yeah, no. I'm not disputing it.
Minutes as well. It's
right.
Physically demanding, plus the training and stuff like that. Nobody's going to convince me that soccer players aren't incredible athletes and their bodies don't go through it. I just can't look past that. I'm sorry. Like, you know, it's a very damning thing on the players, in my opinion, that they have to make up this kind of rule just to get them to play, you know, and it's going to motivate them to play for an MVP award. You know, it's not even about being there for your team to help them win games. It's to try and win an MVP award. You know,
yeah. The only counterpoint I'm going to make to that, because I agree, I think a lot of people out there, the consensus is that the NBA is softer than it used to be. It's not as gritty. It's not as grimy. It's not as tough and physical. But I think a lot of people would also agree that the NBA today is a lot faster, and it's proven because the possessions per game in today's NBA is far higher than it ever was back in the day, even 15 years ago. You know, the Steve Nash 7 seconds or less Suns were a critical piece of that. The Warriors carried that, and now teams generally play like that. And it's an offensive. The rules have changed, so that's more of an offense-based league. They want more scoring, and more scoring means more shots. More shots means more cuts, more drives, more, use, basically steps. And that's why you're seeing a lot of these injuries happen, like premature injuries, by the way. I've said this on this pod before. Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, guys never used to get Achilles injuries when they're less than 30 or just around 30. They get them late in their career. Durant tore his Achilles as well prematurely. A lot of guys have. It gets earlier and earlier despite technology and medical rehabilitation, medical care, maintenance getting better and better. These guys are getting injured earlier and earlier. Now, you could say, okay, well, they do train, and yes, the league is softer, but the toll that the game today, despite its flaws, carries from the perspective of wear and tear on the joints, like shearing forces on the ligaments and joints. It's no wonder that, like, you got to adjust, I think, for that. And the only way that you're gonna, yes, the load management part of it is damning. I agree with Tony, but the other part of it is you got to protect the quality of play, and an 82-game season doesn't do that for me.
Don't you think, though, Neil, is that they're working out too much? I mean, like I for one, okay, yeah, sure, it was like such the bang 'em and the bruising and whatever the NBA was in the 80s, of course. Yeah, it wasn't, it was a lot of fisticuffs and so on, and it's not certainly not like this now. But now it's getting to a jump shooters league, and I really do believe that is the reason why Steph Curry is never in the greatest of all time discussion, because it's always Kobe and LeBron, and you got a guy with
You mean
4
Jordan?
championships. Well, Jordan and LeBron, sure, but I mean, like, during Kobe's time, Steph Curry's time, like, he's never in that discussion, and I think it's because he's a jump shooter. Like, I mean, they always say Kobe and LeBron, but they never bring in Steph Curry, and I think it's because of his style of play.
No, I think they bring in Steph Curry a lot, and I bring in Steph Curry a lot. I think Steph and Kobe are a lot closer together in the all-time rankings. Whichever way you want to go, who's above who, I won't argue. There's cases for both, but I think personally Kobe's a bit greater than Steph, but Steph is right there in the same tier, in my opinion. And I think he gets brought up.
Really? You think so?
Amount.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah, Steph is highly revered, and he deserves every bit of it. And you saw that Clippers game the other day. That's just another sample of him turning back the clock, as he so often does, and it was beautiful, man. He's one of the most exciting players I've ever seen in my life. He plays the game so good, and people just don't recognize also the fact that he is, in my opinion, the greatest player of all time when he offensively without the ball. So I'm talking when you do not have the ball in your hands and you're on offense, he is the single greatest black hole, drawing defenses to him, taking making easy paths for his teammates, easy shots by not even touching the ball. Ray Allen was great at this too, but Ray Allen is like a very poor man's version of Steph in a sense. Steph is like the peak version of what a guy like Ray Allen would be. And I think he does get the credit he deserves. Personally, I think Steph is probably top 10 or just outside top 10 all-time great player in history. And I think Kobe's maybe a couple spots higher than him. So, it was beautiful to watch him the other night, the way he played.
I think it was more so beautiful that the Clippers lost again, personally. But, why don't we bring things we're going to stick with Toronto, and we are going to talk about MLSE and the organizational chart. Of course, at the top of the pyramid is Keith Pelley, the CEO of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and he did come with a bang. He removed the presidents of the Raptors and the Leafs and Toronto FC. And, Tony, I'm sure that you heard of a number of reports that suggested that Keith Pelley was in the war room, if you will, with Brad Treliving in during NHL trade deadline day. What did you make of this? Because I personally don't think it's that big a deal. I mean, yeah, sure, he apparently was there with some AI expert, but if you're the CEO, I think you'd want to have an idea of how your management team operates during a day like trade deadline day.
Yeah, it's not the first time that, whether it be a CEO or an owner who will sit in on these types of processes. I know Terry Pegula is actively involved in the draft, not actively in terms of him making the selections, but he's always there in the draft war room for the Buffalo Bills. Jerry Jones is the general manager of the team, essentially. So no, it's not the first time. And I'm like you. I'm not, you know how it works in this market, and people get into a fever pitch, especially when it involves the Toronto Maple Leafs. Listen, I think some of the messaging from Keith Pelley, is a little unwarranted, probably says a little too much. But overall, the way I see what happened here is because he's, he made the Masai decision. He made the Brendan Shanahan decision. But after that, it's not like he made wholesale changes. The general manager is still in place with the Toronto Raptors. Bobby Webster's running the show. He kept Jason Hernandez on at TFC. So I was under the impression that he'll probably do the same thing with the Leafs. Let Brad Treliving take this thing and see what happens with it. Something switched. Something flipped there, which probably made him be a little more a part of it, inject himself a little more to see where the disconnect is. But I think what we're learning from this, and hopefully this is what Keith Pelley takes out of this, is that you probably need a two-man operation to run the Toronto Maple Leafs, whereas maybe not necessarily Raptors or Toronto FC, let's say, for example. Just somebody to handle the messaging, handle the media, and maybe him not having to do it as much, unless he wants it. And in that case, he's the CEO. He's, under the direction of the new ownership group. He can do whatever the hell he wants, like you said, Randy. But I think something flipped there, and ultimately it led to the decision to let go of Brad Treliving. And I think once the hiring happens, whoever it may be, things will probably settle down after that. I'm not going to go crazy like everybody else in the local media has gotten, where, oh, this thing's a mess, this thing's a disaster. Like no, it's not. And MLSE is just in it for the money. You hear that boring thing all the time. I mean, yeah, they want to make money. There's breaking news. There's nothing wrong with that. These companies don't shell out the kind of money just like the Toronto Tempo, who we just talked about. You're not shelling out this kind of money, paying the salaries you're paying, renovations through the roof for all your different properties, all your different venues and facilities. Yeah, you want to make money. That's the whole point. It's their business and it's their right to make money. But that doesn't mean they take away from what happens on the field. As a Toronto FC fan, yeah, they've been shit the last few years, but can I complain about the effort level from our ownership group with the kind of money they spent? I mean, it didn't work out. Like, you look at the Italian experience, that didn't work out with Insigne and Bernadeschi, but my goodness, They shelled out, and they still shelled out money this year, paid $22 million for an American striker who, a lot of people are like, why?
Well, I mean, you could say this. You could say that technically that they did try with the Leafs. I mean, hey, they got eliminated by Stanley Cup champions. How many times?
They spend to the cap every year. They'll accommodate whatever the hell they want with the Toronto Raptors too. I mean, they tried desperately to keep Kawhi under any circumstances, and if players become available and want to sign with the Raptors, they're going to shell out to get that guy. So this this idea that MLSE only cares about making money, I think is a ridiculous statement.
Yeah. Neil, what about you? I mean, I could appreciate that you may not be overly, versed in the issue with the Toronto Maple Leafs and Keith Pelley, but I mean, as a big Raptors fan, I mean, do you think that Keith Pelley has caused more harm than good? I mean, do you think Masai should have stuck around? Do you believe in presidents being a part of each franchise as well as a separate person for a general manager? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that only for financial operations does that type of thing make sense, not for basketball operations, for example. Like, I don't see where a guy who manages the whole umbrella should have specific technical say in how that sport is run. Although I don't pretend like I know much about that, I do know that the restructuring that MLSE had, and Masai being gone, that, ultimately I don't think that's a good thing. It hasn't proven itself to be anything like a good thing as yet. And, that being said, it's pretty fresh still. It's not been that long, just speaking about the Raptors, since Masai has been gone. He was here for a long time, and it's still fresh. The wound is still fresh from him leaving. But yeah, I'd say that there's nothing that screams positivity at this point.
For the longest time, I always wondered why you needed a president and a general manager. Like, why did Brendan Shanahan have to be there along with Kyle Dubas, Masai, and Bobby Webster? Bill Manning and the general manager of TFC and so on. So you remove all the presidents, but then I come to realize that you have one person overlooking 6 franchises under MLSE. And how is one man, Keith Pelley, supposed to take the president's role, if you will, away and focus all of his attention on the Raptors, Leafs? I think the Tempo is a part of MLSE, right? Anyway,
No.
with
I don't think so, because Tenenbaum
they're
is the
not.
principal owner.
They're not. Okay. Forget the Tempo then. But I mean, Raptors 905, the Marlies. There's a lot of work for one person to do it. So now I don't know what to think if you have if a president is needed. I mean, Tony, apparently there was like 6 assistant general managers for the Toronto Maple Leafs. That seems a little insane. Maybe under Keith Pelley, you have like executive vice presidents, and maybe they take 2 teams. Like maybe one is responsible for the Leafs and the Marlies, and then the second for the Raptors and Raptors 905. Like, I'm kind of just spitballing here.
I think that the more corporate structure that you implement in any type of corporation, the worse the outcome sometimes is. When you talk about let's say a CEO managing all the departments, you got to trust that the guy who knows more about basketball will be the guy that should make all the decisions related to basketball. And the umbrella, the guy Keith Pelley, really his only control should be over the financial implications of many of these decisions. And as far as president, GM, and these other labels, there's many teams out there where the GM is the most powerful guy in the room. There's teams out there where the president is the most powerful guy in the room. And there's teams out there where the coach is the most powerful guy in the room when you talk about a guy like Popovich or some similar entities like him, So I think these labels are not, they're in some ways meaningless, because it's different for every franchise across all the sports who really is the big dog in the room and who's the number 2, and it's not always the same position. So I don't know, much about, how this corporate structure works, but I think the more oversight there is to achieving a vision, the more clouded that vision will ultimately become. in generally terms, sports included.
Yeah, I don't know how interested he is in running these franchises, as the sports, right? I don't, we have to be careful sometimes on how things are created through the media, the narratives. I don't think he's interested in being the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs at all. Like, I just think, I believe something flipped that made him change his mind. And I guess he needed to be a little bit closer to see what's going on. We've watched sports franchises, some of the best, work well with a general manager, an assistant general manager, some scouts, and a couple of guys in the data room, right? Like in the, sorry, not the data, the data. What are you? Oh my God, I've lost my train of thought on the word.
You're the scouting department?
Yeah.
Analytics.
The analytics department, which is very prevalent in sports now, right? Now, you need a president, you need a president, you need a
goalie coach, Tony. You need a skating coach. Like, what the hell is going on?
So perhaps there's definitely a commitment to streamline things financially within MLSE. That's no secret. But for me to believe that Keith Pelley is interested in running the day-to-day operations of the Toronto Maple Leafs, I just don't believe it. I think he'll take his time to find the right guy for the job. I think it needs to be a kind of a two-man thing. I think you need to have somebody, and funny enough, they brought in Matt Sundin in for an interview today for a position within the club, and I don't know what the position would be, but someone like that I think would be a very good conduit between, general manager, Matt Sundin, CEO, let's say, somebody who can be there in front of the media because he was captain for so many years with the Leafs. He knows how to deal with the media. He knows what to say, how to say it, how to deal with it. So it's an ideal situation for him. But again, what experience does he have? Is he willing to move from Sweden because he loves living out there? He's got a young family. I think things like that need to be in consideration now, but I don't think it's a disastrous situation like others want to paint it right now. It's just, it's just that the team didn't make, when the Leafs don't make the playoffs, it's a tragedy, obviously, and it's taken hard throughout the city, but it's, they could be back in the playoffs just as easy next year. I really believe that. I mean, you have a massive turnover in the Eastern Conference this year. Half of the teams in the playoffs this season in the Eastern Conference did not make the playoffs last year. So, let's take it easy on the doom and gloom here. And it's a learning process for him too, right? And it is. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt. You got to give him some grace. I mean, things are going well with the Raptors, I would say. Toronto FC's off to a great start. They look like they've kind of settled down, looking more and more like a team, maybe add some depth. Once they get some injured players back, they'll probably be better. So, I mean, those formulas seem to be working. It's just, it was just a tough year for the Leafs, I think.
Well, I wanted to jump in when you brought up Matt Sundin, because for him to be that middleman, if you will, from general manager to Keith Pelley and so on. Okay, that's kind of romantic, but I mean, like, how much can he really bring? Because let's say that he's been in Sweden for all these years. Like, I mean, how much of the game does he really know? And I mean, like, are we just attracted to the name? How come it's always these elite level stars and Hall of Famers that are getting these advisor roles? I don't know. Like, I don't really hear any fourth line players getting these kind of opportunities. And Tony, I wanted to ask because apparently a firm is being brought in, or they're thinking about a firm to hire the next general manager for the Leafs. Maybe I could see that because Keith Pelley is so new to the game. But Neel, I don't think that Keith Pelley is going to be hiring a general manager for the Raptors, because I think Bobby Webster is secure for at least a couple of years. This time, I mean, the writing was on the wall for Tree Living Tony, and there wasn't much sense for him to stick around for next season. And maybe a firm needed to be brought in because Keith Pelley, like I said, is just so new as CEO. He doesn't have the ability to, really grasp who may be out there. But if this is a standard practice, I think that's a massive problem.
Again, not the first time, and they're not the first franchise to seek management positions through this process. I mean,
but it doesn't make it right.
I can't pretend to understand it. I'm not going to pretend to understand it either. But perhaps these firms can just, based on what you're looking for, based on it, they can map out, okay, there's this guy who works for this team, this guy who works for this team, this guy's a possibility. Maybe think outside the box thinking where you're not maybe recycling the same old boys network, which seems to happen in National Hockey League, especially in the coaching ranks. Maybe there is somebody with a bright mind out there who's been working behind the scenes that could be ready for the job. Again, I'm pulling shit
of course
out of the air right now. I have no idea, but it's not the first time. It happens a lot more than we think. I don't know why. Perhaps Neel, you know why, but it seems to be something that regularly happens.
Yeah, I mean, Neel, like I for one, I think, if we focus on basketball, and let's say that Darko needed to be let go and Bobby Webster and so on, I think the two of us could come up with a list of candidates over a couple of beers and some wings. Like, to hire a firm is just absolute, because I think there has been examples in the past. I think the Blue Jays had this kind of practice years ago. And Toronto FC, Tony, I think it was 15 years ago when they brought in Jurgen Klinsmann as an advisor for the next manager of TFC, if I'm not mistaken.
And he brought us Aaron Vinter, which brought us a few more seasons of losing, which was heartbreaking because as a Dutch fan, I loved Aaron Vinter. But didn't
I'm a true believer in that. From the top down, the passion for the product at the top bleeds down to the bottom. And, if your ownership is made up of essentially a conglomerate, then either they're not going to know much about what they want, they just got money, or they got a lot more money to knowledge, wisdom about their own sport that they run. And so they're going to hire a firm. They're going to hire who they think are brighter minds or more logical minds to try to pick the most efficient and best option, best value. But it won't necessarily be about aligning with their passionate vision for the competition of that sport, So, I think that we could come up with a couple candidates, Randy, as you said.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure we'd be looking at it from every single angle.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, if Darko gets fired, you can turn around and hire Doc Rivers. And there you go. Problem solved.
Doc will not be on my list, that's for sure. But why don't we make it over to the NHL? And Tony, there was I remember when the season first started, and the Pittsburgh Penguins, your favorite team, was off to a great start. Yeah. And I it's one of the reasons why I am grateful for Straight Facts Bro Relax, because it does give us the opportunity to take a look at questions in the past. And I did want to remind you of when I asked you after the hot start of the Pens this season, kind of season, and hey, 4-2, second in the Metro Division. I mean, I don't know about you, but was this kind of start in the cards for Sid and the Pens? You could tell us if this start surprises you, but a lot of people did think that the Pittsburgh Penguins were going to have a down year. Could they be proving the critics wrong? Tony, Pittsburgh Penguins will finish top 3 in the Metro Division this season. Straight facts, bro, relax.
That's a massive bro, relax. They had a great October, which obviously shocked the hell out of me. So far, they're 0-2 in November. They faced some better competition, and you see how it worked out. So one day at a time. I'm enjoying every second of this. It's fun to watch, but I do expect them to fall down there a little bit. But
You did. Yeah, you must be thrilled because a lot of people were thinking like you that Pittsburgh was not going to make the playoffs, and they did finish with 98 points, and they were second in the Metro. So are they playing with house money at all?
Not against Philly. They're not playing with house money against the Flyers. They better beat the fucking Philadelphia Flyers. But no, at that time they were blowing games like 3-4 goal leads for fun. So I was kind of expecting to descend and back to earth by this team, but they got back from the Olympic break without Sid, and then Malkin has a 5-game suspension, maybe the first game back from the Olympic break, and you're thinking, oh my God, they're done. And they went on a nice little run despite having like an absolute gauntlet for a schedule. But no, they're not playing with house money. I expect them to win. They better win the series against the Flyers. They can't lose to the Philadelphia Flyers. So I say no to house money.
Well, okay, so that's the first round.
Now, having said that, the Flyers are coming in as one of the hottest teams in NHL. They finished their 7-3 in their final 10 games. I was not paying attention to them at all during the stretch run. I mean, my attention was on the Blue Jackets and on the Islanders during this run, and then all of a sudden the Flyers just came out of nowhere, and the Capitals were pretty close to getting in as well. So I'm not sleeping on the Flyers. I'm just saying you can't lose to them. That's all.
Yeah, sure, but what about?
But they shouldn't.
But what about playoff experience? Of course. There's a lot of miles on.
I think there's a little more on the Penguins end. Yeah.
Well, exactly my point. And you take a look at Philly. Who's their go-to guy? I mean, Michkov. You got Zegras, Travis Konechny. I mean,
Sean Couturier, who's a solid
Couturier.
center.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're getting really good goaltending right now. I would actually give them the edge in net, even though Stuart Skinner has been to back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. Both goalies finished below 9 save percentage for the Penguins. For sure. But yeah, that experience factor the Penguins definitely have going for them. They rested their players down the stretch after they clinched it. The last 3 games were basically I don't give a shit games, which is important, So we'll see how it goes. But again, in all seriousness, I'm not sleeping on the Flyers. It's going to be a good series.
You think Shelos is going to get start a couple of games?
I think it's Skinner's net to lose at this point. I think of the two, Skinner's been better than Shelos.
Right.
And like I said, I mean, the guy's been to back-to-back Stanley Cup championships, so he knows how to play in the playoffs. You got to give him that.
Yeah, sure. A lot of people are thinking though that Skinner and their goaltending was the reason why Edmonton lost, though. So
maybe,
and she lost,
or maybe it was the Florida Panthers. I don't know.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
But okay, so maybe Pittsburgh's not playing with house money, but what about teams like Montreal? What about teams like Buffalo? I mean, who else we had? Utah. Who thought Utah was going to be strong as well? I mean, it's their first season in Salt Lake City, and here they are in the playoffs. And people are not really looking past them.
Well, this team,
what about
that Utah team has been building from Arizona. There's some good young pieces
Sure.
there, and I think this was the natural progression for that team. It was eventually they were going to get into a playoff position. Montreal, I mean, minus they lost Noah Dobson towards the end of the season there, which could be a costly situation for them, just on right-handed shot defenseman. Just having that depth is huge, and he's such a good player. But Montreal has been phenomenal. I mean, Nick Suzuki, 100-point season. Cole Caulfield, 50-goal season. First one in how many years for the Habs?
Yeah,
for a franchise
Stefan
like
Richer. I can't believe it's been that
that?
long.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it was that long either. I had to do a double take when I saw that. But they're special. They got something going on there, and they're getting a lot from young players. Demidov has come a long way for them too. But they but again,
Hudson and Slavkovsky. I mean, wow.
Slavkovsky, 30-goal season. But again, they're playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, a team with experience. This is very similar to what the Flyers will be facing, right? A team with a lot of experience, Stanley Cup championships under their belt. If they can navigate their way through that somehow, they're in pretty good shape. They've got solid goaltending as well. I don't know. No, I think Buffalo was more likely to be upset in the first round to the Bruins. But again, it's a team that's been coming in hot as well. Like you got a lot of teams coming in hot, especially in the East. Ottawa, too, they changed their fortunes around. They came in hot. So I'm not sleeping on anyone. It's should be a pretty good dogfight in the Eastern Conference, I think.
Yeah. Well, as confident as I am with my Kia Nurse prediction, I think the Montreal Canadiens will be the team that will break the Stanley Cup drought in Canada. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year.
Oh, okay,
but
okay.
Not this.
Team,
they will be the team.
You know what? I can't disagree with you. They've built that. They're building that team, and they've got a lot of guys still to come up as well. They got some prospects still who have not gotten there yet, but they will be there. So yeah, I can't disagree with you there.
Yeah,
it's possible, very possible.
And I hate every syllable of that sentence. But Neel, I know that hockey is not as high up on your chain as sports like the NBA and the NFL, but you are a proud Edmontonian, and you have to think that the Oilers may be running on fumes. Draisaitl's been out for a while. He is expected, Tony, I believe, to come back for game one. Mm-hmm. Their goaltending has more questions than it did in the past. Mm-hmm. Do you think that the Oilers could make a run? Maybe not so much even the final. Are you expecting them to make the final? Do you think that they could win a round or two?
Oh, for sure. They've been one of the more dominant teams over the last few years, and even though they lost to Florida, obviously, for 2 years in a row, they showed a lot of heart in both of the last two playoffs, and that experience and that hunger, the experience kept growing, and the hunger, I'm telling you, did not go away. I mean, McDavid had one of his best seasons. He was absolutely dominant down the stretch while Draisaitl was out. And, Draisaitl is coming off injury, but he was coming off injury a few years ago. I think he had a high ankle sprain, missed a lot of the end of the season, and he averaged 2 points a game, something like that, in 16 playoff games. So he dominated in that same scenario that he's coming in now. And he had some very lackluster moments particularly the finals last year. And, so I think this team is very hungry, but I do also think, to Tony's point before, that the West is an absolute gauntlet this year, it seems. And so there's going to be a lot of luck that they're going to need as well, a lot of good goaltending, which kind of has to come out of nowhere. and really be a strong point, because the goaltending was the difference the last 2 years, in my opinion, and the thing that has prevented them from having a championship in one of those years at least, because the Florida Bobrovsky was just so much more dominant. I think the other 5 guys at any given point on the ice probably favored the Oilers, in my opinion, but Bobrovsky was the big difference, at least in, them going back-to-back for sure. So, we'll see. I think this is a harder path perhaps than the last 2 years for them, but they're an experienced team, and McDavid knows. He is deep now in the legacy part of his career. He's done so much. He's got every stat, all the trophies you could want. He's going to get more. And I just think that legacy is so deep on this guy's mind. And so your nemesis, the Panthers, they ain't here. What are you going to do now? You don't got to worry about Bobrovsky and that hard-hitting, hey, you know what? Hey, McDavid may have had to go through his Florida Panthers just like Jordan had to watch Detroit win back-to-back finals before he became the true version of himself. Don't forget I said that.
Well,
right? Because McDavid can be compared very easily to a pre-1990s Michael Jordan.
Well, I mean, he's just so much different than everybody else.
No, he's different. I mean, his team is good, but they ran into this this gritty, tough, physical team that sort of sunned them, in the sense that they said, "I'm your daddy" to the Oilers both of the last 2 years, and now daddy's out the way. And see what you can do if you can do what Jordan did, and win a ring.
Yeah,
for Edmonton. City of Champions, baby. Let's go.
But could the new daddy exist in a team like Colorado or Tampa, or if there's going to be a new kid on the block? But
I give the Avalanche far and away the best chance this year. I think they're absolutely incredible.
Yeah, they are, and. But anything could happen in the playoffs, and man, I so want to see McDavid win a ring, especially for Edmonton, because that tradition in Edmonton is just so incredible. Tony, very quickly, with regards to Craig Berube, should he be back as coach? Because honestly, I don't think Berube's the problem. I don't want to go on a tangent here, but I really do believe the problem is Matthews and Nylander. I don't see them as leaders. I don't. I mean, Tavares is one thing, but I mean, this whole thing about those on the ice not sticking up for Matthews when Matthews got suckered by Gudas. I mean, it's been 10 years. Nothing has happened. That's standing up for your teammate is such a fixture within hockey, and these guys didn't do it. And I mean, really, I don't want to tilt my comments here because he had a poor year, but really, I mean, I don't see Auston Matthews as that guy. And I don't think Berube's the problem. I mean, do you think he should be back next year? And the second question would be, will he be back next year?
All fair points that you just made. I think it depends what the plan is from the new general manager. Like if Keith Pelley thinks that there could be a quick retool, which gives us the impression that he wants to continue on with Nylander, and that's something he might have just said in the spur of the moment. At that moment, who knows? If that is the case, if you are moving forward with the players that you just mentioned that you have no confidence in, then you probably go with a new coach, right? Because I don't think what this coach's expectations are and how he wants his team to play doesn't seem to match the personnel that's there in place. They tried to make this team a little grittier. They brought some players in to give it a little more of an edge, a little more toughness. But at the end of the day, it's your star players who dictate your success on the ice. So, but again, a new general manager comes in. 95% of the time is that they're bringing in their own coach. So I would expect it to go that way.
Perhaps, yeah, yeah. It's, I mean,
There's
I
also,
think,
listen, there's contract, there's term on the books for Craig Berube as well. So you have to take that into consideration. But like I said, if they decide to make wholesale changes and completely revamp the look of this team, there's a chance he might be around still. If it's in the mold of what he expects and how he wants his team to play, I guess there's a chance. But usually we watch new GMs coming in and they want to bring in their own coach, right? That's how it generally works.
and that makes sense. But I just, with after 10 years, and maybe it is unfair to say, to identify the lack of success, because if it wasn't Florida, it was Tampa, and if it wasn't Tampa, it was Boston who went to a final. They lost out, but Toronto did lose to some quality teams, but I mean, with a guy like Matthews, I mean, as the season was going on, I was just wondering why take away the C from John Tavares. Because I mean, like, I see Tavares in front of the cameras and talking to the media a lot more than Matthews, and I just don't see him as that leader. I really don't. And I'm not saying trade Auston Matthews, but I just don't think he and Nylander have what it takes to lead a team.
Yeah, and again, it's a fair point. They've given no other indication. They've given no indication otherwise. So that's how everybody feels. The C, John Tavares giving up the C, it was a transitional move. It was a classy move by Tavares. We don't know what the dynamics are like within the locker room, quite frankly. So it's always hard to speak on the leadership. It's not like it doesn't seem like Tavares is a raw type of guy either.
Yeah.
What's missing? The question is, what's missing to get you to that next level? You were up 3-2 on the Florida Panthers. You got to a Game 7. You were this close to taking out the Stanley Cup champions. What happened at the end there? What those are questions you have to ask. But all that, Auston Matthews wasn't front and center in front of the media for the last. It's because he's been hurt. But when he's not hurt and he's in the lineup, he's one of the first guys to be there post game or whatever. He's not as available during off days, off games, practice days, and stuff like that. That I understand. And again,
But shouldn't he be, though? He's the captain.
Of
shouldn't
course.
he be?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you look at other guys around the league who wear the C; they're always available. But in this market, I think we have to have a little bit of grace to some of these players. Sometimes I know it's part of the job. I know it's the role. But it's a little different, right? Even Connor McDavid, I think, needs a breather once in a while from that scrutiny, from that mess. So you kind of have to look at both sides of it as well. That these guys are human beings at the end of the day, and you shouldn't be obligated to be up in front of the media every day, answering the same questions, repeating the same shit that you said less than 24 hours ago, right? You can control that a little bit. That's why you have PR teams, and that's why you set these things up. Okay, Austin's not talking today. I don't know how it works, but it's a different market. It's one thing where you're in Carolina sitting in front of the same three people every day, and whatever you say probably carries about this much weight, right?
But what about New York and with the Yankees or the Knicks? I mean, you have to think Aaron Judge is talking a lot, and Jalen Brunson, and enter any NFL player here. Maybe football is a little different because it's only one game a week.
Yeah,
Maybe, yeah. I mean, like, so compare it to an 82 game season. Well, I guess it's just the NHL and the NBA. But with the Lakers, like, how much on practice days did LeBron make himself available, or Doncic, or Tim Duncan from back in the day? Like, I think it's just so unique because in hockey, like, how many markets are there where there is a demand to speak to the star player? I mean, I think it's really only in Canadian franchises. You could think of Detroit, you could think of the Rangers to a degree, but I mean, there's just so much more interest in other teams in those cities, like beyond the pros. I mean, like college sports. I mean, Michigan and Michigan State, like, so you could appreciate that the Red Wings would be bumped lower and lower on the food chain there. And I think it's hockey in Toronto and Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary, I mean, like all of them, it's where it's hockey is number one. So I don't know. So all I'm saying is that it's just that, you need to have, especially your captain, available.
And like I said, he is more often than not when he's healthy and around. But I think there are some days where, they say, oh, he's not available today, and I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, I guess. To the NBA, we do need to talk about them as well. Of course, the Raptors are in the playoffs. We're going to get to them in a second. Neel, I didn't catch the Hornets Miami Heat game. I'm guessing you did. And apparently it was quite a match. And apparently there was a lot of some very high ratings with the play-in tournament. And, my first experience following the NBA was, truth be told, the Charlotte Hornets. Like, I loved Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning, with Muggsy Bogues and Del Curry. Yeah. I mean, that was a great team. And yeah, like I mean, it's been a number of decades since Charlotte has been relevant. I mean, who knows what's going to happen this season, but I think there's I think that there is a lot of fans that are hoping that Charlotte does well. And I also think that the NBA should really capitalize on this and not have the same teams leading the way in the NBA playoffs. What do you think?
I don't think the NBA has much say in it. It's who trots out the best, the best team.
Well, okay. Now, if you're into the conspiracy, though, if the Luka Doncic trade happens, so Dallas could get Cooper Flag, and I don't know if you want to include Dallas as the same old teams and so on. Consistently, they appear on Christmas, and they've made a couple of finals here and there. I don't know. I think it's the same names in the hat all the time.
Yeah, I mean, conspiracy theories aside, I think that once in a while you get these Cinderella teams like Charlotte this year who absolutely, they're kind of like what the Sabres were in the NHL this year. They were dismal up till Christmas, and then they just started. Just the gear just went a complete 180, and they became one of the more dominant teams for the second half of the season. And everything fell into place, and they got themselves quite the rookie as well, Con Knipple. When have you ever heard of a rookie leading the NBA in 3-point makes?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is just unheard of. Cooper Flag, all kudos to him. He's going to be a fabulous superstar in the league for a long time, for sure. But that Charlotte game was amazing. In fact, this play-in tournament has probably been the best play-in tournament I've witnessed thus far. 3 out of the 4 games were absolutely top-notch. Game 7, now they didn't have the same quality of teams necessarily as the top seeds, but those were Game 7 quality games. The Portland game with Avdia going crazy, the whole Charlotte game with multiple guys really having great games outside of Knipple, ironically. And then that Golden State Clippers game, all three of those games were fire. And yeah, I think it's a good thing for the NBA. And I do think, I promise you this, that Charlotte's going to have a lot more national TV games next year because they are an exciting team. LaMelo is a polarizing player. Say what you want about his game, his maturity, his, driving skills, but he is a polarizing player and he brings attention. And they don't really care what demographic that attention comes from because one rating is one rating to them. And LaMelo brings a heavy subset of a certain part of, America and Canada for that matter. But so, they want them to be box office. They've proven that they should be more of that, and they got a very bright future. And it's always good to see a team kind of at the early stages of something that could be special. A lot of times it doesn't end up being special, but the potential is also what's exciting. And so they will, I think, capitalize on that a little bit more. And teams like Charlotte will take more of a front seat. Teams like, for example, Orlando will take more of a back seat. And I'm saying this with the result of this play-in game for the 8th seed being that Orlando completely dominated Charlotte. But I still think that, going forward, Charlotte is going to be a principal team of the subclass, let's just say, in the NBA that will be getting more shine next year nationally, and as they should. So, yeah. Cinderella. Who doesn't like Cinderella, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think anybody thought of the LA Clippers as being a Cinderella. I mean, their franchise was just an absolute dud until Kawhi got there and Paul George. And I don't know about you, Neel and Tony, but I mean, I was thinking that the Clippers were going to do something in at least the first couple of years of Kawhi in LA, and that does not appear to happen. I mean, they're still giving picks to Oklahoma City.
I was just about to say that what the Clippers are right now are the gift that keeps on giving to Oklahoma City. That's about it right now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many billionaires you could say poor, enter billionaire's name here, but poor Steve Ballmer.
Poor Steve Ballmer is probably the biggest oxymoron I've heard this year.
Well, exactly. But I mean, I'm just speculating here, but I don't think he's meddling per se. I mean, I think he just has a blank checkbook and just gives everything possible to his toy. I don't think he's doing it. Yeah. I don't think he's doing anything wrong. I don't think he's like meddling like Jerry Jones, for example, but he just cannot get it done. I mean, Neel, do you know who orchestrated that trade?
Well, it was Lawrence Frank, wasn't it? So it was Lawrence Frank, a guy who's made horrible decisions at multiple different destinations. Huh?
It was Kawhi Leonard who orchestrated.
Well, it was Kawhi Leonard who orchestrated it. It was Lawrence Frank who sort of went along for the ride and jumped on the coattails. But yeah, I'm very surprised he hasn't been fired yet. He must have some secret pictures of Ballmer perhaps, or really for some other reason be really liked by Ballmer on a personal level away from basketball, because there's no way you look at this guy's decisions over these many years and say that he should still have a job. But the Clippers to me are an absolute travesty. I mean, they are heavily responsible for Oklahoma City becoming the champions and potential upcoming dynasty that they are. They're heavily, heavily responsible. Sam Presti essentially is also highly responsible for the Clippers here and their downfall. And he milked them for every drop because he knew that Kawhi, championship Toronto Kawhi, was in the building making demands. He knew that very well, and he was very keen to that fact. And he milked the shit out of that franchise because he knew that they had a very important decision to make. And they wanted to make that because he knew the psychology of Steve Ballmer. New owner syndrome still at that point, wanting to make a gigantic splash, especially since this is his hobby, not really his passion. This is pocket change for him. For most owners, that's a heavy part of their portfolio. But for him, it's pocket change. He could lose it. He probably wouldn't feel it. And so, doing that, and look at Kawhi's record there, man, after the greatest season of his career, his magnum opus, as I call it, the year he played with us. That was his magnum opus and an unbelievable one it was. But he's been past the first round once. He got injured in the second round of the series. They actually went to the conference finals, didn't even play in the conference finals against Phoenix when Phoenix ended up going to the finals and losing to Milwaukee. And since then, he's been out in the first round or out in the play-in or not in the playoffs every single year. And for a guy who had one of the best seasons of his career this season, this is the season that he looked the most like Toronto Kawhi than he has in a Clipper uniform, and they still go out in the play-in. And I blame Kawhi quite a bit for that. I can't hide the fact that Kawhi has been a subpar professional.
Oh,
and I think a lot of what Toronto had that one year was catering to Kawhi, but he also did his job to give an unbelievable basketball player to Toronto that year. It was very much a win-win, but both sides needed each other. And this Clipper situation is such that, I mean, they don't even have a first-round pick. They are just in an unbelievable scenario, and I wouldn't be surprised if they try to move Kawhi this offseason, try to recoup a lot of what they just don't have going forward, which is a future.
Yeah, well, that's very well possible because, whether it's injuries or just father time, that Kawhi can't do it by himself. And, what resources do the Clippers have? So,
in the last few minutes of that play-in game, now I know it's just a play-in game, but in the last few minutes, watching Draymond Green pick apart Kawhi Leonard, he stole the ball just to stealing his purse on the side of the street and running away scot-free. He jacked him twice in the last few minutes of the game. Steals it. Kawhi is the guy who does that to other people, and Draymond did it to him, and it was just a beautiful thing to see. I love Kawhi. We all do. I mean, I love him for what he did for Toronto, but I just loved seeing that Draymond got the best of him in that scenario. Just because the Clippers deserve it, man. They went about things in such a smug way, and they're getting their just desserts. I think Kawhi, to a degree, getting his just desserts because the way he left Toronto, he thought things were greener on the other side, and he was lacking gratitude for what he had in Toronto, because I tell you this, we would have gone back to back the next year in the bubble had he stayed and been healthy.
He was trying to make the same kind of deal happen in Toronto too.
Yeah, he was, and
some of the guys he just went to war with. Well,
okay, but Tony, tell me this though: you go to the quality of organization that the Raptors were at that time compared to the quality of the organization that the Clippers are, and you still could have done something very nice for a few years with those two guys, even if you gave up a lot. I'm not saying that it would have happened. I'm saying that there's a much better chance it happens in Toronto than it does in LA.
Yeah, no, for sure. But what I'm saying is that you just won a championship with some of these guys. A guy like Pascal Siakam, who was a huge part of that run.
Norm Powell, Fred VanVleet.
And you're kind of willing to say, fuck these guys, to bring in Paul George, a guy who is as healthy as you are.
You know what's funny? I've seen Kawhi recently this past year. He's been asked about Norm Powell and Pascal about how they've come up since he left Toronto as becoming stars of their own, and he never gives answers that give you the sense that he's proud or he's happy for them. Like Norm would talk about Pascal and Fred VanVleet that way, and vice versa. Yeah, but Kawhi just kind of came in there, did his thing, probably hardly got to know these guys, and probably didn't have much care in a sense. He was on their team, he was their leader, but he probably is filled with some degree of regret at making the decision he did, because he realized quickly that.
I don't think he does at all. I don't think.
I'm with Tony.
I don't think I think he wanted to go back home. He's collecting a paycheck. He's got championship rings.
Maybe so.
I don't think he's hung up on legacy and shit. I really don't. I don't believe he's wired like that. He's not LeBron James. He won't be ordering a patch to put on his own jersey to commemorate the amount of years he's played in the league and stuff. You're not going to get that from Kawhi. I don't think he regrets a second of his decision.
Well, now
I beg to differ. I think you're partly right, and I think it's somewhere in the middle. It's not fully one way or the other. There is something inside him that there's something there. Yeah.
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know how much. I don't know how much Kawhi dogs it per se. Like when he's on the court, like is he mailing it in? Like I don't watch a lot of Clipper games. I
No,
mean, I
it's not that he mails it in when he's in the game. It's that he mails it in during the season, which is to say that he doesn't do what it takes to be passionate about the longevity, the momentum of his team. Like he'll have a low threshold for not being fit to play by his own standards, let's just say. And it's been to the detriment of the Clippers, much as the Clippers' ineptitude has been to the detriment of Kawhi. So as much as Kawhi in Toronto was a win-win, Kawhi in LA has been a lose-lose.
yeah. Well, what are the Raptors facing? They swept Cleveland this regular season, but it was before James Harden. And I've said this 1,000 times. I hate, if there's one basketball player I cannot stand, it's James Harden. But Cleveland has turned things around, or they have made something out of this tandem with Donovan Mitchell. Neel, are you nervous?
No, I'm not nervous because I tell you why. Because Cleveland is a heavy, heavy favorite. And, a team like Toronto, with the history that we have, and, Scotty being the leader of this team. And I love Scotty's personality. Say what you want about the holes in his game. And perhaps he hasn't shown me that he's a do or die kind of vicious competitor as yet. I think he has it in him, but I haven't seen it at the highest level as yet. So we will see his, when he's running the team, what his first playoff experience as him being the unquestioned engine of the team will do. We'll see how. I expect good things, at least competitive series. But, Cleveland, you mentioned with Harden, those 3 wins, we swept them in the regular season. That's totally irrelevant. Why? Jared Allen missed a few of those. Mitchell didn't play all of them. Their whole team is completely different now. Harden obviously wasn't there. Garland was not even playing during those games. The point is that, Cleveland was a good defense at the beginning of the year. Now they're not a good defense. They play slower than they were earlier, but they're still a good team because they still have a good record, even with Harden. What I take from that is that Harden brought what he does to a team, and it immediately affected Cleveland's outlook and composition. And so I think that, if Darko, it's really a big Darko situation here because he can call this game in a way that will make it very competitive, and he can call it in a way that the Raps will lie down and probably get blown out. A gentleman's sweep, perhaps, something like that. So I think this is a big proving ground for Darko and a big proving ground for Scotty. But I do think a focal point here has to be, how do you take advantage of the mismatch defensively that the Cavs are going to have with Harden on the floor, frankly speaking? Mobley, Allen, Mitchell are all reasonable defenders, particularly Mobley and Allen. But, as much as you have to play as good as you have been because defense is really the main advantage the Raptors have over the Cavs right now. There's not really much else in their favor. So coaching has to become something that Darko outcoaches. Kenny Atkinson, I think, is there. And then they have to have a really solid series from Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram basically has to match Donovan Mitchell's output as a primary go-to scorer. And I think if the Raptors were to do the unthinkable and win this series, Ingram is going to have a couple of games where he has really big moments at the end of the games, perhaps a go-ahead shot, perhaps some like isolation, just like wizardry in the paint, just big shots, big moments. Ingram's going to have some of those. Scotty's going to have to be fantastic on both ends, even better than the regular season. And Darko's going to have to outcoach Atkinson. And we really got to take advantage of Harden being on the floor, hunting the shit out of him, and trying to get in the way of his passing lanes. And that, to me, are the keys to victory. Not that I think that the Raps will win, but I do think that we have a better chance than the general public and the generic neutral pundits seem to think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, because I'm a big down low guy. And I mean, with those two guys, like, I mean, I don't know how you could stop those two just with their height alone. I mean, I think
Well,
that's
and that's
um,
another thing I wanted to mention is that Jakob Poeltl is relatively healthy. Now, he's been
mhm.
much maligned this year, much maligned that his
Yeah.
contract is really the biggest albatross. When you overtake Emmanuel quickly as the worst contract on the Raptors, you really hit rock bottom, okay? But Jakob can seriously turn around that narrative and actually earn his contract if he performs well in this series, because this is a series made for Jakob Poeltl to turn around the general consensus on who he is now as a player. This is the series that he has to come and ready to bang and bruise Mobley and Allen, because I tell you, those guys, they have a little bit of softness inside them. They're not dogs yet, and if you can get to them mentally, that's a big thing in Toronto's arsenal here.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, Pirtle could do it. I don't have a lot of confidence in him, but
No, neither do I.
it's a big task, and the Raptors are going to be facing the Cavaliers tomorrow. But right in our midst is Straight Facts, bro. Relax. So, Tony, the entire country was just absolutely in love with the Toronto Blue Jays, and rightfully so. I mean, there was so many things that happened that prevented this team from winning the World Series in Game 7. You think about all those fluke instances with Barger's double getting stuck in the wall, the incredible catch by Paez, and
The closer who
everything
can't close.
the closer who can't close, you give up a home, and people are still reeling from it. However, they are the talk of the town, of course, with the season just starting, but they haven't been doing too well the start of this season. And they're, in fact, playing the Diamondbacks right now. It's 3-2 Arizona in the sixth. And there's a lot of injuries in Toronto. And it's amazing how everybody is just so fixated on this team and getting nervous. They're 4 games under 500, but we're not even 15% of the season has been completed yet. But do they have what it takes to make it out of the basement in the East and go all the way to the penthouse? Tony, the Blue Jays will never be in first place this season in the AL East. Straight facts, bro. Relax.
Whew. It is way too early to go straight facts, so I have to say, bro, relax. Not to mention that the East doesn't seem to be very good. I mean, they're only sitting 3.5 back of Tampa Bay for top spot, believe it or not. Mind you, they just lost Dalton Varsho, let me add. So he just left the game as well. So that doesn't look good. But I'm going to say, bro, relax. I'm not totally confident about saying, bro, relax, but it's way too early to act like that. And you see what they're capable of. They took off midway through the last season. Or just after the All-Star break, really, I think.
It was towards June, beginning of June, just before All-Star break.
They didn't take off till then. So if they can get a bunch of guys healthy and back in, and like I said, with the division being as doesn't seem to be as good as it was expected to be, I'll say, bro, relax.
And with injuries like Barrios, I mean, Shane Bieber's on the 60-day DL. Alejandro Kirk, your spirit animal. Is that what you call him, Tony?
Yes.
Your spirit
Yes.
dog, a spirit animal?
Huge loss.
Huge loss, figuratively and literally.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
But yeah, there is a lot of season left. So, Neel, to close things off, we were just talking about the Charlotte Hornets, and personally, I always thought Actually, I thought the moment that he was drafted, looking at a guy like LaMelo Ball, he's not going to stay in Charlotte. Why would he? I mean, he's all about Tinseltown. I mean, his dad was, LeVar was already calling that Lonzo was going to be on the LA Lakers way before he got drafted there. And I always thought that LaMelo Ball and the Charlotte Hornets were never going to last. And who knows if LaMelo will continue immerse himself with the city. How wrapped is he with the city and the culture of Charlotte? But I think that he will benefit being a member of the Charlotte Hornets. Taking a look at his stats here, he's averaging 20 a game. The year before, he had in a short, he was out, he was injured, but he had 25 points in just under 50 games last year. Could LaMelo Ball, stick around and be a key contributor for the Charlotte Hornets? Neel, LaMelo Ball will re-sign with the Charlotte Hornets when his contract is up in, I believe it's the 28-29 season. Straight facts, bro. Relax.
At this point, because he has that many years left, he still has 3 years left after this year. I'm going to have to say, bro, relax on that, because I agree with you. At this point, with who I think LaMelo likely is as a player and person, he will jump to a more flashy destination. Now, my hope, though, is that he becomes a more intellectual player, cares about the game more than he does, becomes a leader, becomes a superstar, and values winning over, what values substance over style as far as it comes to basketball accomplishment. And if he does those things, I think the Charlotte has a very bright future, as I said before. I really liked how LaMelo played this year. I think it was the best season of his career. Now, I didn't watch a whole lot of him, but what I did, I noticed he seemed more in command, and the guys that they put around him, they all worked really well together. They got a lot of room to even get better than this, particularly with Kneppel, who's already an excellent player, despite him having a couple bad games here in the play-in. He's got such a bright future. He's got future star written all over him too, as does Brandon Miller. So they're working with something really good there. And if they continue to mesh, if they continue to gel, and he continues to be the driver of that in the ways that he can be, I don't see a reason why anyone wouldn't want to stick around if the team is in contention by the time he goes. But a lot of it, I think, will depend on him as a person, player. If he continues to be a knucklehead, if he continues to just little things like, if you're doing a post-game interview, don't drop F-bombs. It doesn't matter that you're on Amazon Prime. Don't say, oh, I thought I was fucking up the game, and so I just wanted to this and that. Look, there comes a certain maturity to being a champion, to being a contender. I think you got to have that. It's very rare that you see an immature knucklehead even be the leader of a team ever in contention. Who can you think of that was like that? You can say what you want about guys like Rasheed Wallace and things like that, but they turned out to be excellent pros, and I think that they were more just overly vicious type guys. But LaMelo, he's of a different breed. He's a little bit of an overly zesty type of guy, not too where he should be.
Not too versed. Yeah, not too versed. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's a little bit more about, some off-the-court lifestyle stuff. But,
he's zesty.
He's zesty as hell.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he went way too hard with the tattoos. I'm sorry.
Just a lot of little things.
God.
And, but I do think that the inside LaMelo Ball is trapped a player that can be a winner and can be a great player. He has the potential to be an all-time great. That's his ceiling, but he also has the floor of potentially being, one of those guys that's like a what if for his career. He's got such a wide ceiling, and that's why the answer to your question, Randy, has such a wide potential outcome. You know,
Yeah, I'd love to see.
this
Like I
season was a
said,
step in the right direction, despite some of the misgivings that he had as well.
sure, and Charlotte, they are going to get it going against the Pistons. So
No, they won't. Orlando just dominated the hell out of them, and Orlando will be playing the Pistons.
oh, that's right. Man, I got to update my playoff sheets. Anyway, but yeah, it was a step in the right direction for Charlotte. That I could try and dig myself out of that hole. But hey, before we sign off, Tony has started a new podcast himself, and I took took to listen to a couple of episodes. Tony, I'd love to give you a chance to have you talk about your podcast and what it's all about. Tony, you're muted.
Sorry, it's called That's a Show, and it was an inspiration from Seinfeld. Both Steve and I, my co-host, were big Seinfeld fans, and we decided that we just wanted to do something about nothing, which is what Seinfeld was about. And we just said, hey, how about we just call it That's a Show? And that's what we do. We also cover some stuff from back home in Cyprus as well. We've interviewed a couple of wrestlers from Cyprus, which has been interesting. This Sunday, we're interviewing this lady who's got this amazing Instagram account trying to translate the Greek dialect into the Cypriot dialect. And I know it wouldn't interest you guys, but it's going to be interesting to a lot of our people because we speak the Greek language so different from the natural Greek people who live in Greece. So we found her on Instagram, and she agreed to come on and talk with us. But it's just fun. We just babble about stuff, what it was like growing up. He's a guy who doesn't let go of the past, so he's fun to listen to, kind of like old man yelling at the moon type of thing. And I'm just trying to get him reined in sometimes, say, well, we're not there, we've got to think about but no, it's just a fun show. It's a show about nothing. And we just started it maybe about a month and a half ago, so it's just about putting out content.
Yeah, and really, I think it's something that we could relate to. Was listening to your recent episode there, and you're talking about how the body changes from when we were, in our 20s and our clubbing.
Yeah. Go on. Oh, sorry,
I think he froze there.
Huh? Oh, did you freeze, Randy?
Well, yeah, it looked like there was a hiccup in my laptop there. But what I was saying was that there was some relatable topics that you guys were talking about. What it's like to be in our 40s and 50s now, and there's some things about politics that you guys are talking about, and I don't agree with them, but I mean, I was really intrigued to listen to them. So no, I think you really got something cooking here. I mean, I'm not just saying it. I think that there is a great potential. So where could they find your podcast?
It's on Spotify, as far as I know. It's on YouTube as well. It's called That's a Show. I think Tony Touch and Steve the Eating Machine are the names that you're looking for. That's what he chooses to call himself, and he is an eating machine. He's a rather large individual, and when I say large, I don't mean fat. I mean he's a
muscular
very built
dude
Guy. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Well,
Good.
Yeah, he's a very built dude. So he calls himself Steve the Eating Machine, and I think we have about 4 or 5 episodes. Nothing longer than half an hour, I don't think. We try and do quick takes, quick talks, in and out type of thing. And yeah. And what politics did we talk about that you didn't agree with, by the way?
Well, you were talking about how, I don't know, Carney is licking on the ass, blah blah blah. I don't know. I don't remember.
On China. Yeah. Well, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything that's not true. It's just facts.
I just subscribed, and I see the latest episode is called "From Getting Old and Fat to Secret Wars." So I might have to tune into that one because I already relate. I already relate to that one after just reading the title. God damn it!
Yeah, absolutely.
I think either the next one or the one before. I think the one before that, it's like a quick one on the flight to the moon. And it was mostly Steve because he had more interest in this than I did. But it's just funny how it went from the other side of the moon to like Whoopi Goldberg or something like that. I think that's what the title's called. So
okay, cool.
We're just having fun. And that one was a quick one. I think it was like a 15, 20-minute top episode where we talk about the Artemis 2 landing.
So 15, 20 minutes. Complete opposite of how we throw down here at Voice of the Fans Canada. Huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, no, 2 hours. We're going on 2 hours, 10 minutes, guys. And I can't do it without you. No, of course. I really wish you the best of luck, and have a blast. I really hope it's not going to take you away from us because we need you, dude.
I'm always available.
Always grateful for the both of you guys. Thanks so much.
Right.
Have a great weekend. Huh?
Take care, boys.
Take care, guys.
For Tony, Antoniou, and Neel Katarey, I'm Randy Kure. This is Voice of the Fans Canada. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe. We will talk to you next time.